Hello, fellow builders. I'm your humble host, the Mediocre Modeler, and welcome back to the bench and to a new build. Actually, this build is a carryover from our last build, which was Mjolnir. Look at that. I'm very happy with the way this came out. If you're keeping up with the current Marvel, you're probably thinking I'm talking about this Stormbreaker. But we're not. It's cool, don't get me wrong. Very powerful. I think they did a good job for this, but this isn't the one I'm talking about. The Stormbreaker I'm talking about is the classic version that was created for and wielded by Beta Ray Bill. If you want to know the in-depth story behind Beta Ray Bill, you're going to have to look it up. One thing I do remember is I wasn't a comic book kid. I was a TV sci-fi model building kid. And all I can remember is seeing comics on the stands every once in a while and just wondering, well, why does this guy with the face of a horse wearing Thor's armor and wielding his hammer? And then later on, I see this different hammer. Now, I guess it's the original hammer. I didn't like the design of it because it just looked like kind of a ball peen hammer with a wedge back. It just didn't excite me that much. But later on, the hammer had gotten revised, and the axe looked more like an axe, and the hammer end looked a little bit more pronounced. And I've always liked that style of Stormbreaker. So that's what we're going to build. I'm using Fusion 360 to design my version of Stormbreaker. I was going to use an axe handle, so I've recessed the bottom to accept a standard axe handle. I was going to try and print this all in one shot, but it ended up being way too big for my printer. So I had to separate it and print it from axe head and axe and hammer body. So I call myself easing into this by printing the axe head first. Fresh off the printer, and I printed it flat so that one side would be finished. I had a droop. If you look at that corner, I don't know why, that one corner was just drooping on me, but I figured it looked good. Once it got paint on it, no one would notice. I would know it would be there, but yeah. It took 12 hours to get this printed and 4 attempts. So the fact that I'm able to putty and sand now, it may not look like it, but I'm ecstatic and ready for the rest of the print. The hammer portion of Stormbreaker was going to take 72 hours to print. So let's get that started. Get it fired up, off she goes. Well, that just happened to be at the same time we were getting the Arctic vortex in. And we were all surprised, as a nation, at least here in the Midwest, when we had to experience what is now being known as the rolling blackouts. Power just goes off for about an hour. So about somewhere around 38% of the build, the power just shuts down. Build stops. And I was not happy. But power came back on, and there was no way for me to, I thought my printer had the capability to start back up where it left off with the power outage, and it doesn't. So I had to start it all over again. So while the axe head is drying from being bondoed, and the axe body, or the hammer body, is still being printed on the printer, it was time to give the axe handle a little bit of love. Now, this is an actual axe handle. You just pick it up at any of your favorite big box or local hardware stores, but it was very plain looking. I mean, it had, it was just It was a clear coat over regular wood. So we needed to give it a little bit of love. We did that starting off by getting some dark walnut stain and staining it. So that's 2 coats of dark walnut stain that we've got on there. I'm also going to end up doing is giving this an upper grip area made out of leather. And set you aside. And I'm finding that 3D modeling, it's all what you can put into it, and I'm finding I'm having to stretch my experiences to other areas, like dealing with leather. So I went over to the Tandy shop, lucky enough to have a Tandy shop here in town, and got some cowhide leather, and we got some mahogany dye, and we're gonna dye, because this is about the color that the axe handle was, but this has no character. It needs a little bit of character. So we're gonna get this dye on here, and make a statement. Make the axe handle, the grip part of it, look a little bit more interesting. I'm not sure exactly how much I'm going to need. You know, we can guesstimate. Mark it off. And so all we're gonna do really, we're just gonna find a good angle and use contact cement and maybe tack the ends. We're just gonna wrap it like that. Let's see exactly how much we're gonna need. One more wrap. So roughly that much. We'll take this, we'll grab our old Sharpie, and we'll just put a couple of dots on here on the back so we know, wasn't very smart. How are we going to see it if it's on the back? And here we go. This is what we'll do. Put a tape line on there. Alright. That works. Now, I don't know exactly there's nothing high-tech or fancy going on here. Just using a painter's chip brush, dipping it into the dye, and spreading it down the length of the leather. I'm not trying to really be even with it. It absorbs at different rates, but I'm happy with how it comes out. Okay. I need to let this dry overnight, but I like the color. It's really good. And if I were doing something like a belt or something like, if I was doing something different, I might try and make sure it gets evenly coated, but I've got some light patches, some dark patches, and that's just going to speak to wear. And I'm okay with that. I'm not even sure. Maybe I'm supposed to flip it over and stain the back of it, but I don't want that to get. I really don't want it to have any other chemical anything in there when I go to use the contact cement. I want it to be able to adhere directly. As a matter of fact, what I need to do is get the axe handle and kind of sand it down a little bit in the area that this is going to sit, to make sure I get good grip there. Because after I stain that, I didn't clear coat it, but I did actually go over it with some pretty fine sandpaper to make sure I didn't have any splinters or anything, since it's going to be handled. But I like this. I like the way this is going. I'm not saying I'm going to get into more leather work, but it's just another skill to put in the old repertoire. So much so that I've got a leather working box. I've got a hole punch and some rivets and different things that I've used that I've had to learn to use in recently here. So we are going to let this dry. Man, the completionist in me is just dying to go over and over it again. I want it all even, but I like the splotchiness of it. But I'm going to do one more pass, and then we're going to just leave it. Well, 72 hours later, and the hammer body is complete. I'm not wasting any time getting Bondo on this thing because it's been a long 72 hours. I'm finding that having it sit on the table is not going to work for me doing the Bondo and sanding process, because I have to get both the top and the bottom done. So I decide to make myself a little stand to hold the hammer body on while I get the Bondo spread and I can do some sanding. Without a doubt, I have a love-hate affection for sanding. I love what you get out of it when you get it right, but I hate what it takes to get to there. And so the main thing with this particular model is, okay, digitally, when you make a circle, if it's small, you don't notice it because basically it's just a bunch of connected straight lines. But when you take something and you blow it up, once you get to a certain size, you can see the geodesicness of it. You can see where it prints the lines to make the circle. And that's all I was really trying to do, trying to get that symmetry out of there, those straight lines, and make it into a nice curve, and so I think we're there. Get caught up with all the little imperfections, a little bit more sanding here, a little bit more there. But if I use the filler primer, I think that's going to get me where I need to be, where it's gonna get a nice, good, even coat over all of it, and then maybe I can go back and do some finish sanding. But we're getting really close to the point where we can marry these two things and get some actual paint on here. So off to the paint booth. The only part of this hammer that was not designed by me was going to be the top cap. So I took the measurements of the Mjolnir and duplicated the size. I put a fillet around the edge to make it a little bit different, so it doesn't have a hard edge. Mjolnir says, "He who wields this hammer commands the lightning." And so I wanted to be a little bit different and put on mine, "Only the worthy may wield." So we're going to get this printed up and make sure it fits right, and we're going to be good to go. We have our wrapped axe handle. We have our topper, our hammer axe handle topper, and we have the axe itself. Check this out. Look at that. Look at that. That's just, it's just a thing of beauty. So we are ready for final assembly. And all I got to do now is I'm going to go and put some of the epoxy on that end right there. Insert it in, screw it down, and it's all going to be one. Oh dear Lord, what was that? It's like Eeyore took over my brain, and I might as well just been sitting there going, Bueller, Bueller. No. We've worked too hard on this thing to just end it like that. So let's try that again.
Are you Thor, the god of hammers?
No, I'm the mediocre modeler, and I built Stormbreaker. Look at that. Look at that. That is just my main concern. It was that somehow this was gonna come off, like I said. So I've got the 1/4-20 bolt run down into the axe handle, screwed down. It's epoxy glued in there. It's epoxy glued under there. That. I am happy. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to build next. But I can't stop looking at it. You know when something comes out just better than you expected? I didn't. This is a real point of pride because I can say this is all me. This is the first 3D model that I did top to bottom. I designed it, I printed it, I built it, I painted it. She's mine. I can already see though on my leather wrap I did okay, but like right there at where it stopped, I can glue that back down, but I've been playing with it. I've been doing all this stuff and my hand's catching it and it's peeling it back. So I need to either glue and tack it down there or do a bottom wrap so it won't catch. I've also thought about where a couple of these rounds I didn't get it right flush together, so there's wood in there. So I thought about getting some leather lace and overlaying the two pieces with leather lace, and that would just give you one more place to grip it. But maybe I'll just let it sit up. I need to find a place to put it, hang it, so I can just look at it for a while, and we'll decide what to do later, if anything. But that completes this build. I got 2. So with this, we're going to call this one complete. It's time for you to go, say it with me now, go build something. And don't underestimate yourself. You might be surprised what you can accomplish once you put your mind to it. So, have fun, be safe, and go build something. Pew 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 pew.